Three pussycats, all the same, right? Kind of like three experiences. But once we throw a frame around it, what's different? Which painting looks the most expensive?
The one on the right.
So when Darko had the golden halo around him. All right, guys, and this is the end of our revision. You know, you could have the same experience and it can be framed as scary, it can be framed as exciting. But the way we frame things will actually affect our physiology. It will affect our response. Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday and we take questions and answers from the audience. Some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you, enjoy. I'm sure you've all been at workshops or meetings or something where someone's dressed sharply. And if you're in a meeting, maybe 10, 20 people, and one person is dressed really sharp, what goes through your mind?
Yeah. Oh, they're good.
It doesn't necessarily ring true, but they look good. They look sharp, on point.
Yep.
Now, if there's two coaches, one turning up in a singlet, one turning up in a business shirt or in a tie, you know, which one do you think is more professional? And which one do you think will get higher fees or perhaps more clients? Maybe someone won't go for the coach at the shirt because they can't relate to that. But I'm pretty confident that if you go to a city like Shanghai, Singapore, and you go to a business networking, I'm pretty sure if you go in, in your Saturday nightclub outfit or a business shirt, you'll get taken quite differently. But what I'm alluding to here is framing. How you look, how you sound is part of the frame. And there's some people in here or some people in our greater training that might not quite be confident yet in charging or getting paid clients, and that's okay. That's totally okay. Dress the part, act as if, and it might assist that in happening. We've got a popular frame in NLP, which a lot of people don't do that well. It's acting as if. There's act as if and there's fake it till you make it. I am not a fan of faking, but I'm a fan of acting as if. And Darko is about to show. Yeah, bud.
Yes, I was teaching to a student about as if frame last time. So as if many people talk about fake it till make it, but as if in NLP, according to my understanding, is act is be associated with some situation, and if it is happening, just to like experiment to see how it feels. So it is not fake it till make it all the time, but just to see to try some new emotional state, and after that our unconscious will seek for that kind of feeling and will happen naturally.
So a really important, really useful frame. If you want to sell your services, you know, and you want to practice getting in front of people and say, I'm $100 per hour, or I'm $200 an hour, or for $400 an hour, you might want to try getting on the shirt, getting on the best dress and saying it a few times and stand in different ways. And when we use the act as if, we're actually acting as if we're standing in, we're fully associated, and we're going to be acting as if we are a world-class coach, or as if let's say you want to charge $500 a session. If you stand up and act as if you're someone that charges $500 a session, how will you stand? Will you stand up or will you stand like this? probably back. So we act as if we're someone that already has it. When we do good future paces in coaching NLP, any of that, if we want to future pace something, or if we want to mentally rehearse or future pace, we kind of act as if. We step in, we associate, and we act as if it's really happening. And that acting as if it's really happening really kind of guides our unconscious and brings up a lot more things into conscious awareness. Like, ooh, my voice will also get higher. Ooh, I'm no longer worried about how they pay me. Or, ooh, I'm no longer worried about those things. Ooh, I'm more focused on just getting them the result. I don't know, whatever happens. So acting as if is a very important frame. And one of the last times we were here, we're actually talking about framing. And that's why we started the conversation there. Yeah. And thank you all very much for being here. You're going to enjoy this session, I promise you. In the last session I did for you guys, a completely free training session for the community or for anyone stepping up, I spoke about framing and goal setting. But in today's session, we're going to talk about NStep Reframe. And in this session, I'm going to start by giving you guys a bit of an overview or a review on framing. Not framing and goal setting, but I'm going to give you a bit of a review on framing and then jump into the NStep framing. The NStep Reframe is an incredibly powerful process. A lot of people think it can do one thing, but it can actually do many more things. And with a good understanding of it, you'll get many more benefits. And one of these benefits is that you won't even have to actually do the process. You'll just develop better connection with your own unconscious and your own intuition. So if you want to get better with working with others or develop your own intuition or learn an excellent coaching model that you can take almost anyone through, you're in the right place. So can I just see, put your hand up, please. Have you already had a coaching client or a therapy client or work with people one-to-one? Sweet. Well, we got a bunch of people from around the world here, but primarily Australia and Asia. All communication and thinking is framed. That's why I mentioned if I turn up in a singlet, if I turn up and the lights are out. Just the other day, I was leading a training session and I had a full power blackout. So how do you think the session was framed for power blackout? Luckily, I had backup lights, backup power, and I was able to get through the entire session and people were like, wow, that guy's prepared. Being prepared is part of the frame. Okay, now if you see me here, this could be seen as content. You have a person in front of you, Adrian, and just me alone has no meaning. But you have a frame around it. Adrian is an NLP trainer. Now, if you don't know I'm an NLP trainer, you might not understand that. The framing shapes our reality, shapes our experience. It can either get in the way or help us. And I hope Darko or Estrelita is able to manage the wonderful guests when they come in. It's okay if you
Yes, I'm managing.
Thank you very much for coming. You got it, Darko?
Yes, I'm managing.
Great. So I just frame that then for those people that just came in. Thank you. I love you guys for coming in. It doesn't matter if you're a couple of minutes late. You came. So
apologies, I had a domestic situation.
Yeah, stuff happening in life. You still came. You must be committed to growing, evolving in your life. But the framing can also get in our way. If I took offense to people being a couple of minutes late, if I took offense to that, then my framing would really get in the way. And we can actually change the way we frame things. Higher awareness, more ability to frame things. And I'm making the frame explicit now, but the framing is normally implicit. The framing is often done outside your awareness. So right now, I'd just like for you to clarify, what are you here for today? Are you here to learn something new? Are you here to apply the process to yourself? Are you here for a community? If you are here today for the community, you have wonderful people around you and you may pay more attention to other people in the Zoom room. If you're here to learn, you might pay more attention to what's being said with the screens. Your framing will affect your results. Now, this is a review from one of the last sessions. So we have an example right there. Here's another one. Today I did half my list. You could be seen as lazy. Could be seen as motivated. I done half the list. And our framing affects the results. Feeling lazy, feeling motivated. Change the frame, change your response. Change your frame, change your response. We call it a reframe. And today we're looking at the NStep Reframe. Three pussycats, all the same, right? Kind of like three experiences. But once we throw a frame around it, what's different? Which painting looks the most expensive?
The one on the right.
So when Darko had the golden halo around him. All right, guys, and this is the end of our revision. You know, you could have the same experience and it can be framed as scary, it can be framed as exciting. But the way we frame things will actually affect our physiology. It will affect our response. Excitement and scariness, being scared and being excited, they're close. But the difference, quite dynamic. So we have reframing all the time in life. You know, kids' jokes and kids' stories are constantly reframing things. Hey, Jay. Knock, knock.
Yes, sir.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Lettuce.
Let us who?
Let us in. See, so we reframe lettuce to let us in, right? Reframes happen all the time. Are you making an excuse or are you making reasons? Scarcity or abundance thinking. Reframes happen all the time. When we explain things to children, we make it simpler. But look, some of these reframes are really, really good, and some of them maybe not so good. Where's this one from? Just do it. All right, you might need your finger on the microphone here.
Like.
Nike.
What about this one?
使用智能语音功能，请打开猫王妙波 APP。
Okay. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Does anyone know where that came from? Debbie Ford. So just do it. I actually put these ones in the orange, but I might be a bit colorblind. There's a Nike theme of just do it, or feel the fear and do it anyway. I consider that to be a reframe. Might be you're scared, might be it's hard, but just do it anyway. Here's another reframe. Who knows this one? Eat that frog.
Brian Tracy.
Brian Tracy, eat that frog. Now, I got this one in the green because Brian Tracy talks about, like, if you're procrastinating on something. If you're procrastinating, maybe that's the first thing you should do in the morning, eat that frog. If you've got an ugly task that you have to do and it's sitting there right in front of you every morning, It's going to be hard because it's right there. So he's saying first thing in the morning, eat that frog, do the hardest task. I like that. It's in the green. But this, just do it or feel the fear and do it anyway. What if sometimes the fear meant you shouldn't do it? What if the fear was actually saying don't do it, but you overrode that fear and did it anyway? I remember that kid jumping off. I remember jumping off a really high waterfall. Not a waterfall, it's kind of like a cliff edge. And I was way too high, but some other people jumped off this cliff edge and I went up there and I felt the fear. Shit, it was high. I felt the fear, I did it anyway, I jumped. I had sore ribs for a month. I went smack on the water. I couldn't go like legs up because it was too high. It was too big. I wasn't trained. I just jumped off and I did some damage to myself. Yeah. I've been up snowboarding in the Swiss Alps. Any snowboarders in here? How long do you think it'll take to learn how to snowboard? I was dating a chick, she was a snowboard instructor. So obviously I had to man up. And within a couple of hours of learning, I was carving it down the Swiss slopes. And I got up to a fast point, wobble, I fell off, I hit the snow hard, I bruised my ribs. A couple of days later, I flew over to Turkey and hitchhiked across Turkey and Iraq. And every single night I had pain. Physical pain. I felt the fear and I did it anyway, but I was feeling pain for 6 weeks. I went to the hospital in Iraq and got x-rays of my ribs. They weren't broken, just bruised. I felt the fear and did it anyway. Sometimes maybe we shouldn't override the fear. And we're going to talk about how to know whether we should or shouldn't. With this, here's another one. Trust the experts. Anyone heard this in the last year or two? Trust the experts, trust the science. Trust the science.
Government.
Allowed to question it. William?
Yeah, the government say trust the experts. They trust the experts, certainly in the UK anyway.
It's a reframe.
Crazy.
Don't listen to your intuition. Dismiss your own intention. Dismiss your own intuition. Dismiss your own insights. Dismiss Mother Nature. Trust the experts. Well, is that a fear or is that a mistake? I don't know. Sometimes it can be a very bad mistake. Sometimes it can just be a fear. So sometimes we have a fear and we reframe it going, it's just a fear. But from the two examples, you know, being just a fear, well, that fear was there for a pretty good reason, and maybe I shouldn't have dismissed my intuition. So that takes us into what we're going to be covering, the NStep Reframe. Rather than dismissing your own intuition, we want to start working with our unconscious signals. So rather than dismissing perhaps the intuition, the insight, the signals, we want to start working with it. And we're working with an underlying belief that the unconscious is a supercomputer. Your creative unconscious is the expert, and this is extremely important for anyone doing coaching. This is the basis for all coaching kind of work. Perhaps therapy work as well. If I'm coaching, I can coach anyone here. I can coach absolutely anyone here, and so can Jay, so can Darko, so can William. And the way we coach is generally by getting our clients to work with their own knowledge, work with their own intuition, their own insight, and perhaps helping people connect to that. So by helping people connect to their own insights, perhaps people can know that their insights are valid, or maybe they can start to recognize more and more that the expert is within them. So the NStep reframing is really about using the unconscious signals, and we put it inside a coaching context. Outcome, problem, blah, 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 blah. And we simply tap in and use the unconscious through it. We'll show you how to do it. It's really cool. It'll make a lot of sense. And for those of you that are more intuitive, you're really going to like this. Okay, now I'll let you know straight up. This is where I got this from. Which man is represented twice here?
Grinder.
Grinder. This work is developed off John Grinder, who created the 6-step reframe, but it was later uploaded to the NStep Reframe. Now, this is my spin on it, okay? So John and Richard, bottom right, these guys created the NLP, and I've studied under both of them. Their wives were also phenomenal. Judith Deloiser, Leslie Bentley Camera, massive contributions to the work. I have only studied their books. I haven't studied with them live, where John and Grinder, I've studied with them both live. Carmen's new partner, Carmen Bostic, and business partner, Michael Carroll, I've been studying and certified by all of them. And bottom left, we got Robert Diltz and Stephen Gilligan. I spent 5 days with Robert and about 20 days with Stephen. So Stephen and Robert, John Grinder left them at this gentleman's house when they were about 19 years old. Robert and Stephen down the bottom left, they were left with this hypnosis guy, actually the world's #1 hypnosis psychiatrist, Milton Erickson. And they stayed with Milton from when they were about 19 until Milton passed away. And these are the leaders in the field. There's a lot of models that come from their work, but not always attributed back to them. But today you're seeing my model. You're seeing my version. But my version has come from distilling the original version, the original intent from John, and I've updated it with some of the latest stuff, more so from Stephen and my own thinking. On top of these guys, I've got a couple of other trainers, 2 other phenomenal trainers, 3 actually phenomenal trainers, Overdurf, Collingwood, and Daniel Smith, who I've trained under. But that's who I train under. And today's work is a combination of them distilled within me. So you won't find this in the books like this. This is a lot easier to do. This is a lot easier to do and a bit more experiential than working in the books. So we're going to be tapping into unconscious signals. And I guess this is going to be new to a lot of you. There's 3 unconscious signals that we want to get. You may want to get more, but let's keep it simple. Some people will operate on a yes and no, but I like a yes, no, not yet. These are the 3 kind of signals we need from our unconscious. Your conscious, we say your conscious is limited. 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information. So you're consciously able to track so many things. Basically, maybe you're able to track this many, 5 to 10 things you're able to track. But if you're tracking this many things, you won't be able to track much more. Your unconscious, on the other hand, is everything else. See, conscious, unconscious. So conscious, not conscious. No sub in our work. It's just conscious and not conscious. Your unconscious, therefore, is everything else but those little 7+ bits of information. A lot of people, when they're talking and coaching, they're using this little conscious bit, yeah? But we are tapping into more of the unconscious. And as you see, I put my hands out. Some people might say that the unconscious is more like the whole body. Some people will say that the spine and the chakra system or the energy centers all form part of the unconscious. But because of the very definition I've given you being not conscious or unconscious, it doesn't actually stop there. It could go out further. It could even be seen as an aura, or it could be seen as a greater field. So rather than using our conscious, we're going to start tapping into the unconscious. Yeah. When our unconscious communicates, it communicates differently than the conscious. Yep, let's start here. You ready for our first little exercise? Everyone ready for a first little exercise? I need a couple more smiles and nods. Jay's not moving his head anymore. He's frozen. Cheers, Ryan. Thanks, Maria. Great. I want you guys to think about a time. Think about a time when you knew you were on the right track. Maybe you had a decision to make. Maybe you were driving down the highway and the turnoff was there and it was your turnoff. It was your choice. It was your turnoff. It was your decision and your whole body was like, yes. You know what that's like? When your whole body or your unconscious gives you a yes signal. Just feel inside your body and remember what it's like when your body says yes. Now, I'd like to ask your unconscious to make that signal louder, clearer, make it even bigger. A nice, big, unconscious yes. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can connect to my unconscious. Yes, make it clearer. Okay. Just give me a nod if you have that. If you think you have a yes. Yep. Now, thank you and thank your unconscious. And I would like you to thank your unconscious. Actually, thank your unconscious. Thank you for that yes. Thank you for that communication. That's it. You're doing great. You and your unconscious have been riding together all your life. Your unconscious has been taking care of your immune system, your nervous system, your heart, your digestive system. Your unconscious has been storing memories, languages. Your unconscious has been storing faces of people you care about, maps on how to go about a town or maps about how to go about life, maps on what food to eat and what food you shouldn't eat. Thank your unconscious. And we want to handle our unconscious like a gift, like something we treasure. We want to have love and respect for our unconscious. Unconscious is a larger part of us than our conscious. It is a larger part. Therefore, we want to respect it and hold it with ease. We want to respect it. We don't want to override it by jumping off stupid cliffs or doing something we shouldn't do. Yeah. Okay, now, could one or two people please share? What did the yes feel like to you? And if you're not sharing out loud, share it to yourself. What does the yes feel like to you? And if one person could come off mute, what did your yes feel like? William.
Yes, my total yes feels like total at one, if you wish. That's not the word to describe it, really. Just a total imbalance with things at that moment. I wish I could do it all the time. Unfortunately, I will do it all the time. Sorry, telling my subconscious and conscious. And yes, so it's just a feeling of yeah, everything fits.
If you were to fake it, if your ego or conscious was to try to do it, can you tell the difference?
Oh yeah, because my ego used to do it years ago, of course, and that got me into a lot of trouble. Yeah, I can tell the difference.
Thank
Definitely.
you. Joe?
Yeah, for me, and I actually had the experience today, it was a total feeling of calmness, that everything was right. And that doesn't happen very often, but there are things that happened over about a 15, 20-minute period, and I had to divert from what I was doing to go to help somebody and do something else. And it was like, you know what? That's not important. This is. And just, it's actually almost like a little bit of excitedness, calm, and a little bit of expectation and knowing. And it's like a little bit of excitement, a little bit of joy, but at a nice, calm level for me.
Now, some people also say they have like a circle or a feeling in the belly, or maybe like a ball turning or in the throat. However you do it, we may want to ask our unconscious to make that signal bigger, clearer, sharper, or more distinct. And we want to check as well to make sure that we can't fake it. And a lot of people say yes at this point. So when a lot of people learn the NStep, they're like, oh, I can fake it. But it's like, well, I can't actually fake it. If I try to fake it, I can tell the difference. It's the important thing. So I can get a clear yes signal, and it feels like it feels. It won't always be the same, but maybe for the majority of the time it will be. The more we listen and work with our unconscious, the more connected we're going to get. In business, in organizations, in therapeutic work, rapport is often spoken about. You got to have rapport with your client, rapport with your customer. Well, the more rapport we have with our unconscious, the more it can work for us. The more we distrust or disrespect our unconscious, the more separation we're going to get. So we might as well bring our conscious and unconscious together and allow them to align, support each other. So we do it by having them support, align, respectful for each other. Does that make good sense? Compared to the reframing. Compared to reframing it, going override your emotions and jump off that stupid high thing. Great. Okay, so you got your yes signal, and just tune in for a moment and get that yes signal again. Yes, make it clearer and bigger. You know what it's like when your whole body's saying yes. And I just want to ask you, can you make a no signal? Maybe your body also says yes. Your unconscious can be cheeky. If you ask your unconscious, can you make a no signal? Your body might actually go, yes, I can. Yeah. Now, I would like for your unconscious to make a no signal. You know, sometimes you've had a really clear indicator that you shouldn't do something. I remember once I just kind of sold something, and afterwards I went, no, that's wrong. And I had an intuition and I felt it strongly. So other times I've bought things and I've bought something and I've walked away and my body's gone, no. So ask your body to give you a nice, clear no. Make it bigger, clearer, sharper, more distinct. No. Just a quick check. Can you fake it? If you were to fake that signal, would you know the difference? You probably would, right? Good. So we've got a yes and we've got a no. And the third signal to make is a not yet, or not enough information. Or maybe your unconscious isn't prepared to tell you. Sometimes the unconscious is like, you know. You know, sometimes we're at a point where we're like not quite sure, or we don't have enough information. I typically hit this sometimes when I'm investing in the stock market. Sometimes I don't have enough information. And I'm like, not yet. So just ask your body to give you a signal for not yet or not enough information. Make that signal bigger, clearer, sharper, more distinct. Not yet. Not enough information. Do you know how to do this NStep process excellently? Not yet. Perhaps not yet. Okay, now can people just give me a thumbs up if you've got your signals? Brilliant. People that are intuitive or more in tune with their body will get them easier. When people aren't in tune, we might need to calm the waters down more and slow down. Not with you guys, but if I'm working with a client or a bigger group face to face, I might take more time to calm the whole group, slow everything down. You could imagine if you're at a little lake or a pond. You know what a lake looks like when it's windy or there's a lot of activity, lots of little ripples. And when there's lots of little ripples in the pond, you can throw in a rock and sometimes you don't even know where it goes. But when the ocean is calm, when everything is smooth and flat, like ice, you can see little bubbles coming up. Bubbles coming up, yeah? In those kind of flat, calm spaces, it's easier to understand the unconscious. It's easier to get that communication. In fact, we can even ask the unconscious other questions, which we're going to do in a minute. We'll ask the unconscious some other questions. So at the start of the NStep Reframe, we've got to make sure we get these unconscious signals. Now, this bit of information right here, you can use in other techniques, you can set up with your clients. And when I'm working with someone, I can generally tell the yes, no, not yet, just by looking at them. I won't have to ask my client to get an unconscious signal. I'll see it. Yeah. I've been doing this 3,000 plus coaching training hours now. So when I work with my client, I've calibrated. I can ask them a question, which is a clear yes. And then I can ask them a couple of yes questions. And then I can ask them, are you going to do the homework? Or are you going to make the change? And I can see a yes or no from there, generally just from the little micro muscle movements around the face. You can also do this with fingers, which is quite cool. We call it ideomotor signals. You can ask a person to raise a finger to represent a yes and a finger for no. Maybe a finger for not yet. And again, make it bigger, make it clearer. Might not be so important if their hands are here. But then we ask the client if they can fake it. So when a client can fake it with their finger, yeah, for sure, they can fake it. But when the unconscious does it, the unconscious tends to do it more like this. Just really kind of like subtly. For those of you that do hypnosis, we can also hold up a client's arm or have them raising the arm. Hold up your arm and just as you make the integration, allowing your arm to signal as you make the integration. And as your unconscious puts everything together, the arm will slowly lower. Yeah. So this bit of knowledge here, you can put in a variety of different contexts. Yeah. Okay, as we said, treat the unconscious with appreciation, respect, build lasting appreciation. A note in the chat window here, Blake and Anna say we use muscle testing, kinesiology for that. Another way of doing it is flicking finger, True. When people are telling the truth, it's stronger. So when people tell the truth, it's stronger. When it's false, it's weaker. So like true, false. And I could say, my name is Adrian. I am a man, but I cut off my testicles and to be a woman. Whoop, went off. Yeah. So if I say anything false, the muscle changes. Truth is strong. Also rub your fingers together. Kinesiology uses this a lot. Great for someone in a hospital bed. Someone's in a hospital bed, you can just use their fingers, or they can use their own fingers. Okay, so now the overview of the NStep process, we start with a present state or problem state. There's a framing in there. Coaching will generally use a present state. Therapy will use a problem state. People go to therapists with a problem. They might do it with coaching as well. So problem state, communicate with the part or the issue, and that's debatable. I'll communicate with the greater unconscious rather than the part. So here's an overview for you. Present state, communicate with the part, identify a positive intention, create alternative ways to do better, make the changes, let the unconscious do the work, check for consequences. Okay. You've got it. End of session. Good night, guys. Okay, apologies for the bad jokes. As you guys will know, I rarely use slides. I actually spent time preparing this slide for you, and I tested this a couple of times this morning. So that's the overview of the process we're going to do, and I'm going to walk you through it. Is that cool? I'll walk you through this. Okay, everyone has a present state or a problem state. And I'd like for you now, everyone here, please, everyone, get yourself a problem. It can be a belief you want to change. It can be a behavior. Typically, this was taught with behavior, but it can just as much be a belief or a new way of being. So it could be, I bite my nails. It could be, I'm not charging enough. It could be, I'm procrastinating. It could be, how do I talk to my child? How do I deal with my father? Whatever you like. So you've all got a present state or a problem state, and just allow everything to calm down and slow down for a moment. Calming down, slowing down. And as you relax, just notice your breath, and you do not have to make any changes here. My goal is to help you raise your awareness and connection with your unconscious. You do not have to make any changes. You are completely safe here, completely safe. As you relax, I want you to establish communication with your unconscious. Some people will ask you, unconscious, will you find the positive intention of that problem? Unconscious, will you find the positive intention of that behavior, that belief? And just slow down. When the positive intention comes, just give a nod. When you know what the positive intention's for, just give a nod. Some people have found it already. Unconscious, will you find the positive intention of that belief or behavior that's stopping me, holding me back? And just allow that communication to come up like the bubbles in the pond. And whatever it is, I want you to thank your unconscious. Thank you for being present. Thank you for listening. Thank you for helping. Unconscious, please find the positive intention and let me know when you have it. Some people will get the positive intention quite fast, like a little awareness. Some might need more help. Sometimes your unconscious may keep the positive intention to itself, as in it might not tell you. And if your unconscious doesn't tell you, that's okay. If your unconscious doesn't want to tell you what the positive intention is, that's okay too. Totally safe. And if your unconscious wants to keep the positive intention secret, that's totally fine, as long as your unconscious becomes aware of the positive intention. I'll just give it a little example here. A friend of mine was asking me about charging, and they were afraid to charge. The positive intent was to protect themselves. Protecting themselves is what I would call a positive intention. Sometimes people have an intention, but not a positive intention. Sometimes what can be really beneficial is to actually kind of stand up and do this process standing up and then step back into the intention. Another question you could ask here is, what's the purpose of that? What's the purpose of that behavior? What's the purpose of that belief? So a money belief, what's the purpose of that money belief? If someone's having a problem with their boss because the boss is a dickhead, well, what's the positive intention of thinking that? What's the positive intention of believing that? Some people will have an intent and it might not be a positive intent. So I think my boss is a dickhead and my intention is to stay away from him because he's a dickhead. Well, that's not a positive intent. It's an intent, but not a positive intent. So for that, I would say, okay, what's the positive intention behind that? So kind of repeating the process, if required, simply repeat the process. What's the positive intention behind that? I asked someone about money. I said, what's the intent? They go, oh, I'm afraid, to be fearful. That's not so positive. Okay. What's the positive intention behind being fearful? To protect myself. Okay, now we have a positive intent and we need to get that positive intent. If it's 1 step or 2 steps, that's okay. Stepping back on the ground is fantastic. If someone can't get the intent, maybe slow down, relax down, slow down more. You could even go into trance. Remember, it's a matter of their unconscious finding the positive intent. And it might not tell us. Hopefully our body can give us a yes. Yes, I know the positive intent. Yes, it has a positive intent. And all behavior has a positive intention. All behavior has a positive intention behind it. That's one of our core beliefs as an NLP person. Yeah. Even someone that does something bad, like stealing from others, they may be stealing from others to give to their family. Yeah. Even someone who's doing drugs, they might think that, well, doing drugs will make me feel better. Positive intent. So there's always a positive intent. We want to find that positive intent. Now, once we find that positive intent, we ask the unconscious. And my version here is we ask the unconscious, please, considering the positive intention, unconscious, please generate 8 to 18 alternatives that will do an even better job fulfilling the positive intention and any other positive intentions I have for my life. Unconscious, please generate 8 to 18 alternatives that will do an even better job fulfilling the positive intention and any other positive intentions I have for my life. Allow your unconscious to do the work here. Allow your unconscious to generate all those alternatives, combinations of alternatives that will do an even better job fulfilling the positive intention and any other positive intentions you have for your life. Some literature points to having 3 alternatives, but I find 3 alternatives to be very conscious. If we are doing 3 alternatives, it's very conscious. By using 8 to 18, we start utilizing more of the unconscious. We can't track more than 8. And we don't want to consciously track. We want our unconscious to track, and we want our unconscious to create those alternatives. Is that clear? So the unconscious being a genius, we're asking the unconscious to create all these alternatives. There is a slightly different way we could also do this here. If I do this standing up, I could step back and I could step back. But another way we can do it right here is we can also step to the side. Step out to the side into a more resourceful place. And maybe we've already made a circle of excellence out to the side, but from the outside, we can access a really creative state. Maybe remember a time, and I'll just ask you guys to try this now. Sorry, can you even hear my clapping? Zoom's awesome, isn't it? You can't hear the clapping, can you?
Yes, we can.
Zoom's amazing. Okay. Oh, sorry, where were we? Now, can you guys remember a time you felt really creative, a time you felt really powerful, a time you felt really creative, imaginative, a time when you've just been able to come up with new ideas? Great. If I actually step into a different circle, like a spatial circle, it's even easier. But you know what it's like when you can really just come up with creative solutions, right? So while you're here, able to come up with creative solutions, ask your unconscious to generate 8 to 18 alternatives that will do an even better job fulfilling the positive intention and any other positive intentions you have for your life. So you can use either way. Either way. You'll get a feeling. I actually prefer this way. That's why I included it. The other one's simpler, but I thought, no, I'll share this with you guys because I know a lot of you guys are quite advanced. Yeah. And also some people like Jay and William, they might use this, and Harry will definitely use this in a corporate space. So it's great to get your people, great to walk them down, get them to the side, get them in a resourceful state, then look back. Now, at this point in time, your unconscious has generated a pile of alternatives. Do you guys have some alternatives? You don't have to install them. You can. You don't have to. At this point, depending on how you work, you might want to ask your client to consider writing some down, or maybe meditating on them, maybe going for a walk. Yeah. Personally, I'll continue the process. But if my client is scared or they're not comfortable, because a lot of people are actually afraid of change. A lot of people are afraid of change. So a lot of people won't go see coaches and stuff because they're worried they might change. Yeah. So we get all these 8 to 18 alternatives. The next step is to get the unconscious stepping in and making the changes. So from here, whether you've taken out this external resourceful spot or not, either way, so this way or this way, the next step is to step back into the present state. Ask your unconscious to choose the best alternative and try on the changes. Step back in to the original context, but it's different now. Step into the original context. Act as if. Put on the alternative and see how it is. While you see how it is, you got to check for consequences. See, you like the color coding here? It's going green, it's green. Ask your conscious to check for consequences. And by the way, consequences are good and bad. Ask your unconscious to take responsibility for making the changes. Unconscious, will you make these changes happen? Yes. Variety of different ways you can do it. I would ask the unconscious, will you take charge of making these changes now? Yes. Maybe the unconscious says no. I'll say, unconscious, can you take charge of taking responsibility for making these changes today? Unconscious says no. Unconscious, can you take charge of making these changes tonight while you sleep? Unconscious says yes. Great. Thank you, unconscious. If there's any problems here, your unconscious should be able to take it and install with it unless there's a secondary gain. But this process is designed to satisfy a secondary gain. And for those of you who know what a secondary gain is, you'll see that this process actually handles a secondary gain by chunking up 1 or 2 steps. We handle a secondary gain. So the only really reason why it wouldn't install it is if it hasn't got a better alternative. And if it hasn't got a better alternative, we may not have had a calm enough state. So go back to a resourceful state or a positive intention and generate more alternatives, or perhaps calm down, slow down more. When someone is fighting with their partner, they might go, okay, I'll get a positive intention. They're doing it because they're a prick. Get a higher positive intention. Yeah, I'm doing it because I want to fight, because I'm a good person and I shouldn't be treated like that. I shouldn't be treated like that. So they step in, they get their alternatives and they come back in and it doesn't really work because the whole time they've been angry. They didn't calm down enough. Okay, so present state, solutions are there, the unconscious, and can you just check, unconscious, will you take care of installing the changes? Will you take care of installing the changes I've been considering? Unconscious, thank you. Unconscious, thank you for handling these changes. Unconscious, let's look forward. Let's look forward and see how the days are going to be different. Perhaps see yourself later today, tomorrow, or next week with the changes, noticing the differences. Step forward further and notice the differences in life and noticing other differences. Perhaps this change will affect other areas. Makes good sense, everyone? If you want to make more money as a coach, as a business consultant, what would happen if you did this process on yourself? Well, I'll tell you what may happen. You may set the intent and not actually do it. So write it down on a Post-it note, put up the Post-it notes, put it on your to-do list, write it out on your whiteboard, do this process on customer A, or do this process on me as a manager, do this process on the way I handle my staff, do this on the way I handle my coaching business, do this on my money beliefs. Any questions about that? A little bit more to share with you. Great. So that overview that I shared before, simply start with the present state, the problem state. This is the master code, by the way. You can use whatever language and terminology you like. This is the master code. Present state, communicate with the part or issue. I personally prefer communicating with the whole unconscious. John Grinder, when he first did this, he would communicate with the part. So with the specific part. The more advanced people, sometimes you might want to try part, sometimes you might want to try a whole unconscious like I did. I've been pondering this for about 2 weeks. And William Darko, I'd like your quick thoughts here in a nutshell. I think when we work with a part, we're more limiting. When we work with a part, we're more limiting. So I want to ask the whole unconscious to create alternatives, not that little part. Make sense? Yeah, so the book say part, and I worked with part with a couple of people, and then I said, what about the whole? And I started doing the whole, and I found a greater use of the whole. When I was doing it with a part, I remember 3 or 4 years ago doing this a part, I was doing a part that was causing pain in my back. If you're doing a pain in the body or a cancer, you might want to use part. Beliefs and stuff, I prefer to use the unconscious more of a whole. So there are times when you might want to use a part. Some NLP people said, oh, but you make more parts. Parts are a metaphor anyway. So the overall process, present state, communication, positive intention, alternatives, let the unconscious do the work, check for consequences or ecology. Maybe future pace. I like to throw my future paces in all the time. Some enhancements for you, enhancements to make this even better. Use trance, if you like. You can use trance, and someone like Jay might even have you turning around. He might have you doing a little qigong. William Spears might have you drinking a bit of red wine. Darko may have you doing a bit of gestalt. That is all okay. Do it with Dino, he might have you in a deep hypnotic state. Using the trance, we're getting the ego interference to the side. Another enhancement, using spatial anchors or perhaps a ladder, drawing a line. Another enhancement, setting up anchors in advance. I was never taught so much about setting up safety lines, but some of my trainers have a safety line. So, hey, Darko, what was your #1 popping English song when you were a teenager? What was the #1 pumping English song you liked as a teenager? And Harold, I'm going to ask you this.
I think Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Don't worry, be happy. Is that it?
Yes, yes.
Was it Phil Collins? It was a real deep voice, wasn't it? Don't worry. How does it go?
Yes. It's going good.
All right, so we might set that up at the start of the session. We might have a bit of a joke like that at the start of the session. And then if Darko gets into a fearful point, I might fire off that anchor. Yeah, I might have a calmness anchor. I might have a resource anchor set up in advance. The great thing, by the way, if anyone works with Darko in the next 20 years, the don't worry anchor will probably work. Okay, another enhancement. Consider how many ways you can incorporate what we've learned here in other processes. What if we took this unconscious signals, or what if we took allowing the unconscious to install the changes? What if we took that and put it into other processes? What if we took that and took it in a timeline? What if we went back in our timeline and installed changes back then, or parental re-imprint? If we allowed our unconscious to choose, yeah? What if you did this on yourself daily? What if you did this with a coach weekly? I'd like for you guys to consider that, because a lot of you in here are involved in the Motivate community. And you know, we've got lots of internal in-house coaching going on, and a lot of it's for free. So what if you were to ask one of the master students to do this with you, to hold you accountable to do it? One more big enhancement, and I mentioned this to some of my guys, one of my trainers, Chris Collingwood, he said he did the NStep so many times, it was just an automatic thing for him. It was automatic. He could take people through it so fast. He knew the process so well, and it really is simple. Heart, unconscious signals, positive intention, alternatives, installation, consequences. Yeah. Once you know the process well enough, taking other people or yourself on the floor, Chris said, well, I thought, what if I asked my unconscious to select the behavior to change? What if your unconscious shows the behavior to change? What if your unconscious shows the most limiting belief for you? Unconscious, please choose the most limiting belief I have. And unconscious, please select the most limiting belief I have and put it here on this post-it note. Unconscious, you don't need to tell me. Put my most limiting belief here on the post-it note. Put it on the floor. Unconscious, thank you. Unconscious, what's the positive stepping back? Stepping back, what's the positive intent of that? Perhaps a second time, what's the positive intent of that belief? Okay, unconscious, generate 8 to 18 alternatives that can satisfy the criteria. Yep, got it. Okay, unconscious, install the behavior for us. Install, check for consequences. Good. You can do the whole thing unconscious. And now if you want to take it a step further, ask your unconscious to choose the behavior. Run the whole process without knowing what the actual change is. Do you think that'll be a bit of a challenge? Would anyone like to try that challenge? Why not try that challenge? And the next level for you, if you do that challenge, then ask your unconscious to do it while you sleep. And then perhaps ask your unconscious to automatically do it when you sleep. Or ask your unconscious to automatically review the day and make the most positive change it can. And just allow your unconscious to make one change per day. See what happens. Pretty darn cool, hey? Change can be scary, but do you know what's even scarier? Allowing fear to stop you from healing, loving, growing, and evolving into a more true, magnificent you. It really hit me today when I was doing this with someone. They said, I think I've got a fear of the change. And we sat down for about an hour and I was thinking and meditating on that. I think one of the reasons a lot more people don't do coaching is the comfort of the comfort zone. People are staying inside the comfort zone. And in reality, the comfort zone is safer and easier right now. But like a frog in hot water, you stay in the comfort zone. Like the frog, you get cooked. We've got to get out of the comfort zone, get out of the water. It's costing us more to stay in the hot water. So we got to get out before it gets too warm. We got to get out of that comfort zone and start doing this process on ourselves. I hope that's nice and clear, because one of the biggest challenges I see with coaching people I saw an NLP trainer just the other day, and their life was a bit of a wreck. I see another NLP trainer down in Brisbane. A friend of mine spent $5,000 or $4,000 US, and then another $4,000 US doing a master prac training with this trainer down in Brisbane. And the trainer's really overweight. The trainer isn't able to tell the difference between the submodalities of hunger and loneliness. I don't know. It's like too many NLP trainers and NLP and hypnosis and coaching not doing enough work on themselves. And a lot of new coaches in their first years, and some a lot more, a lot of them tell me they want to do more work. They want more practice. And I'm like, oh, practice with yourself. Really, really expensive training device, Post-it notes. Put them on the floor, do that for yourself. And do it for yourself. You deserve the changes. Now, for those that are doing a bit of coaching and training, how many clients, no need to say it out loud, how many clients do you see a week? Maybe you're busy with your work, but how many clients could you see a week? How would your life be if you had 3 or 4 more clients that you saw each week? And not so much from the business side of the house, but what about those people stepping up, stepping into their power? Surely, you know, people that are stuck in victim mode or people that have a less optimal mindset, how would it be if you really help people change their mindset to see positive outlook on life and step up to, you know, greater challenges, or perhaps change the way they relate to fear or relate to challenges, or the way they relate to the comfort zone? There's a key thing in there, relationship. Not things, relationship. So what if we were to coach them or take them NStep through their relationship with fear, their relationship with scarcity, their relationship with money, their relationship with love, their relationship with themselves? Yeah. And you guys can do that, especially those that have had basic training or more. We might just have to do, you know, some NStep more on ourselves so we can step into the greatness that we're meant for.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.